There's a saying that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, so let me ask you this. Are your friends lifting you up or are they dragging you down? Personally, I make it a priority to surround myself with people who are going to benefit my growth or contribute to my growth in some way. And I know that may sound selfish at first, but by the end of this video, you're going to understand why it's so important to surround yourself with the right people and why adopting this mindset is so essential if you truly want to level up in life. Last week, I shared the 5 mindset shifts that completely turned my life around. And if you haven't watched that yet, I encourage you to do that when we're done here. But at the end of that video, I mentioned that when people see you working on yourself and leveling up, it can trigger something in them. And some people will do whatever it takes to knock you down a peg. Now, I'm someone who believes in the presumption of innocence, so don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that everybody in your life is holding you back or that everybody's a bad person who's trying to prevent you from growing or that everyone has bad intentions. But as somebody who is striving to grow, it is your responsibility to be mindful of who you surround yourself with and how they impact you and your journey. So let's actually start by dissecting the quote I mentioned at the beginning, that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This is obviously said a little tongue-in-cheek, but it is a quote I live by because I've spent way too long surrounding myself with people who brought me down, people who encouraged unhealthy habits, and people who, whether unintentionally or not, were keeping me from reaching my potential. And speaking from experience, it wasn't until I distanced myself from those people that things really started changing for me. I'm talking about seeing improvements in my confidence because I was no longer surrounded by people who brought me down or made me feel bad about myself. We're talking about improvements in physical and mental health because I was no longer surrounded by people who encouraged habits like partying and drinking and just being generally lazy. For similar reasons, I also gained a more clear sense of alignment in my life and alignment with my goals because some of the people I used to hang out with didn't even have goals. And whenever I mentioned mine, I was either dismissed or made fun of. So things definitely changed in that sense. And I also started seeing changes in my external circumstances. When you stop spending time with the wrong people, it allows you to spend more time with yourself. It allows you to really work on that relationship and focus on your goals and your growth. And 2, it allows more time and opens up new space for new, healthier relationships, which in turn bring new opportunities, new goals, new inspiration, and a new sense of fulfillment. So let's actually start by looking at some of the telltale signs of people you probably don't want in your life, or people you want to spend less time with as you progress in your level up journey. One way to identify these people is to ask yourself some key questions. So how do I feel when I'm around this person? After hanging out with this person, do you feel drained? Do you feel sad, unproductive, or do you feel joyful and accomplished and energized? And when I talk about feelings of productivity and accomplishment, I'm talking about whether the conversations you have or the activities that you do with that person align with your goals and align with the type of person you aspire to be. So an example from my own personal life is I used to have friends who all they would do is party and drink and eat junk food and not much else. And now I have friends that I go to the gym with, friends that I have deep, meaningful conversations with. Friends that when we go out to eat, of course we enjoy ourselves, but we choose healthier options. And the list goes on, and these connections have made such a dramatic difference. Not just in how I spend my time, but also in my direction in life, in my sense of self, in my sense of confidence, and so on and so forth. And a huge part of figuring out who you want in your support system and who's aligned with your goals is actually knowing what your goals and aspirations are. This is where my main character method playbook comes in. I created this playbook filled with insights and exercises and actionable steps to support you on your personal growth and level up journey. It's going to help you figure out your core values, your limiting beliefs, and help you overcome those limiting beliefs, help you better understand what your goals are and how to get there. It's only $15 and you can get an additional 15% off using the code YouTube15. If you want to check that out, I'll leave a link for you down below in the description. Every purchase helps, and I already know you're gonna love it. Now, moving on, another thing to pay close attention to when you're trying to identify who your true friends are is how they react to your successes, your wins, and your failures. I want you to think for a second about the last time you told a friend good news. How did they react? Were they genuinely happy for you? Did they seem indifferent? Did they try to downplay your success? Did they celebrate with you? And then when it comes to your failures, are they encouraging and supportive? Or do they use that as an opportunity to knock you down even further? And the way someone reacts during these moments of success success and failure really tells you a lot about them. And it can tell you a lot about whether they truly support you or if they're just holding you back. And one thing I want to add here, because I've seen a lot of people excuse this behavior, myself included, by saying things like, oh, well, they're just insecure, it's not their fault, or it's fine because they don't realize they're doing it. And I'm so sorry, but if you're not willing to work on yourself and improve your shortcomings, and instead you project your insecurities and your shortcomings onto others, I don't want you in my circle. But that brings me to something else that you want to consider, and that is your own role in relationships. It's very easy to look at others and point out what's missing and what they're doing wrong and what they could be doing better. But relationships are a two-way street, so sometimes we need to take a step back and look at our own actions. Are we communicating properly? Maybe it's not just them. Maybe they really don't know that they're doing something wrong, but it is up to you to let them know. So working on communication skills is huge, and as you continue on your personal growth journey and you become more confident, it naturally becomes easier to express yourself to others. Now, once you've reflected and you've asked yourself these questions, it's time to take the next steps, right? What do we do about those who are not aligned with where we want to go? First of all, if you're spending time with these people, even if they're not the best influence, they probably mean something to you, right? There's some emotional connection there. And it's not always easy to distance yourself or set boundaries with people you care about, friends, family, loved ones. But if you want to prioritize yourself and your growth, it is necessary. And I'm not just telling you to cut everybody out of your life and start telling people off and setting these harsh boundaries. I'm just reiterating what I said earlier, which is that if you want to attract people who are more conducive to your growth, you have to first make room for those people. And there are a few ways to do this. First is to set boundaries. If there are certain relationships that are not aligned with you or your goals, start by setting clear boundaries, and boundaries mean different things to different people. It might mean redefining how much time you spend together, the types of activities you do together, the types of topics that you cover in conversation, and setting these boundaries can help create a healthier space for both sides. Another thing is what I mentioned earlier, you want to communicate your concerns. And when it comes to relationships that are important, clear communication is key. And this also goes back to what I was saying earlier about gauging a person's reaction. If you bring a concern to somebody about their relationship and they're willing to work on things, that is a great sign. But if they're dismissive or they get defensive, it might be time, once again, to rethink that relationship and whether you want to continue. Another important step, and this is kind of going in the other direction, is what to do about the positive relationships, right? Because you want to invest in the relationships that are supportive and that are conducive to your growth. And going back to those questions we asked earlier, these are the people that make you feel happy and energized after spending time with them. So think about those people and start putting more energy into those relationships. Spend more time with those who are aligned with you and your values. And once again, that doesn't mean cutting everybody else out. It just means prioritizing the relationships that are going to help you continue to level up and the relationships that are going to bring out the best in you. And finally, sometimes it is necessary to completely reevaluate relationships and whether you want to move forward with that person. Distancing yourself, whether partially or fully, from people who consistently have a negative impact on your well-being can be really hard, but it is a very important step for your growth and your health. And this can be a really difficult conversation to have, whether it's with a friend that you've had for a long time, or a really close friend, or a partner, or even a family member. But sometimes relationships just don't work, and that's okay. That's a part of life. And that's just something to keep in mind, that everything we talked about today, it's not always easy. Because like I said at the very beginning of the video, these are people that you spend time with because you probably care about them. They mean something to you. But once again, prioritizing yourself is key, because you're not only doing this for yourself, you're doing this for those around you. When you are able to be your best self, you also bring out the best in others. So if it feels selfish to think about it, like you want to surround yourself with people who are conducive to your growth and who are going to bring out the best in you, you can also think about it that way. You want to put on your life jacket before you help others, and you cannot be your best self if you're surrounded by people who bring you down. All right, last thing I want to cover now is what to do once you've made room for new and healthier relationships. How do you actually go about meeting new people and attracting new people that are going to align with your growth journey? The first thing is to identify potential connections. So start by thinking about the kind of people you want in your life. Think about your goals and what kind of people are going to support you and inspire you. And then start looking for individuals who embody the qualities that you admire and align with the kind of person that you're trying to become. The second tip is not to be afraid to take the first step or initiate contact. Whether you're sending a DM, starting a conversation in person, joining a group, reaching out to others is how you make connections. And yes, it takes a little courage, but it is so worth it when you initiate that initial reaction and somebody responds positively. The third tip is that just like with anything, relationships, like healthy, good relationships, take time to grow. So make sure you find people who you share common ground with and invest time into these positive relationships. Real, supportive friendships and relationships develop over time, and they develop over shared experiences and mutual respect. My fourth tip is to put yourself in places where you're likely to meet like-minded individuals. If you want to stop drinking, don't go to a bar to find friends, you know what I mean? So if you want to get healthier, for example, you might take a Pilates class or something like that and meet people there. You might join some sort of workshop, a class, a community group. Being around people who share your interests and values makes it a lot easier to connect. And if, for example, your goal is to be an artist, you want to surround yourself by successful artists. So maybe take a workshop where the instructor is a successful artist and start building that network. Tip number 5, when you're meeting new people, approach it with intention. Approach it with an intention to build that network and create and nurture those relationships. Again, think about the type of network you're building. Think about the types of connections you want to make and put out that positive energy so that you can attract that positive energy. Last but not least, leverage social media. Social media can be a really powerful tool for connecting with people. A lot of my online friends actually know more about me and know me better than some people I know in real life. You can join communities online. You can follow people that inspire you. You can engage with people online in ways that are really meaningful and create those connections, even if it's virtual. Social media doesn't have to be superficial. It can be a really great way to find people that align with you on your growth journey. Just like the way you found this video here and you found my community, hopefully I'm one of those people that inspires you and helps you on your growth journey. And the last thing I'll say here, guys, is that building that support network and that dream team is a gradual process. It is not something that happens overnight, and as you continue to grow and evolve, so will the relationships in your life. Some people will just fall away naturally, and others will step into your life exactly when you need them. So be patient, stay intentional, and just keep in mind that this whole journey is about creating an environment where you can thrive and be your best self and keep leveling up. As always, if you found this video valuable, please be sure to give the video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe before you go so you don't miss out on my upcoming videos. I post every Sunday and I post shorts almost every day. If you're not already following me on Instagram, you can find me at the Marlena Azul. That's where I post more photos, more behind the scenes, and fun stories. And as always, don't forget that the journey of self-discovery and self-development is everlasting. So keep doing the inner work, keep taking aligned action, and until next time, I wish you all the very best in health and happiness. Bye.